We set out to build a 1960s inspired vintage supercar. To do that, we cut down a Porsche Boxster, extended the wheelbase, stuffed a Ford V8 engine into it, lowered the car, designed our own pop-up headlights, installed 180-degree headers, designed our own custom wheels, and of course, are hand-forming an aluminum body for the car. We have so much to do yet on this project, but we also have a lot in store for you guys in this upcoming year. So we figured to wrap up this year, we're gonna spend an episode just answering the questions that you have on this project and our shop in general. It's Christmas, and you guys have had a lot of questions about Project Jigsaw and weirdly us as well.
And we feel like we can do it better like this in a video instead of just typing a couple of sentences in the video comment section. What was the inspiration for building a 60s inspired supercar? It started with my dad's engine, which isn't from a 60s car. I wanted to build a car with that engine. And for a long time, I've wanted to do like a meld of the Miura and the GT40. And then it just kind of took off from there.
Also, just look at these cars. I think they're a little self-explanatory to how cool 60s era cars are. Is the car going to be a Targa? Yes, the car is going to be a Targa. And what we're going to do is do the aluminum tubing like we've done for the skin structure. We're going to make a Targa top that fits in the space. We're gonna have to make channels, we're gonna have to do latches. We're gonna figure out how to make the Targa top be stowable. So whether it's multiple pieces, whether it collapses, that's question marks we have not figured out yet, but it will be a Targa top.
Have you considered using ITBs or individual throttle bodies? It would look really cool and sound really cool. And so yes, the answer is yes, we've always considered using ITBs. The only real debate has been whether or not it was going to be in the form of 4 twin downdraft Weber carburetors or electronic fuel injection on ITBs. And looks like we're probably going with the electronic fuel injection on ITBs.
Are you going to create a Patreon account? Short answer is probably. What would be helpful in this decision is if you guys could let us know in the comments down below that if we had a Patreon account, what would you guys like to see as benefits to that Patreon account?
Will the interior be custom, or will you pull it from a car and what would that car be? It's gonna be custom. So yeah, seats, dash, door cards, carpet, everything will be made for this car so it fits the era that we're after. We probably won't have fun things like Gandalf's staff shift knobs. It'll be more correct to the car itself.
No, that's not really what happened. What really happened was Tony hired me in 2016 to work for him at Translock for Porsche, which he's owned since like the Stone Age. And so yeah, we're both homies. We both work together. We also both own Crucible Coachworks. So it's like the trifecta there. What is the best material to start metal shaping with? To answer that question, I prefer drawing quality steel, 19 gauge. A couple weeks ago, I ran a metal shaping class. It was my first class over at Eastwood at their Pottstown location in Pennsylvania. Most of the class is hands-on. We make a bowl, we make a motorcycle fender. The last class, they were excelling through my syllabus very quickly, so we also made the side of a Harley fuel tank. If you're interested in learning more about metal shaping, check out the link in the description down below to sign up for my next class, which is February 8th and 9th in Pottstown, Pennsylvania.
Has the build been easier, harder, or about what you would expect it to be? I think as far as difficulty goes, it's been what we'd expect. We've done enough builds that we know what that is. The amount of components that you have to deal with and the overall size of the project always seems to be bigger than you think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Otherwise you wouldn't start it.
There's a reason that in the shop, Tony has a rule, whereas if I quote something to him like, oh, it's gonna take 20 hours maybe to weld something on or whatever, he'll go back and be like, yeah, it's gonna be 30 instead, because I, for one, am very bad at guessing the time frame for something, let alone the scope of it in general. However, I will agree with him in saying that this is about exactly how as I expected it to be, just not time-wise.
Right.
Effort-wise, yes. How do you plan to create the other side of the car? As you guys know, we started on this side of the car to do the metal shaping, whereas on the other side of the car, there's a lot left to do. The question is though, how are we going to mirror both sides to make them correct? Well, in the process of building this car, we've done the aluminum tubing, which is like this skeleton, these ribs, that give us a good base to work off of when shaping the metal. So this tubing is going to help us get it very close. Now, if you guys have been paying attention, you've noticed that I have the skin probably like 90–95% accurate to the tubing, which means I'm gonna have to adjust tubing later or just kind of fudge around it because it doesn't really matter if this is like super tight against the skin. I just want it to be as close as possible. What I'm going to do past that though is I'm going to make my new patterns off of this skin on this side. So I'm gonna do flexible shape patterns most likely over every square inch of the aluminum skin that I've shaped on this half of the car, flip it, and then do that half of the car with the templates. So it'll save me a lot of time. This side of the car will go significantly faster than the passenger side.
Are you going to do any shop tours? You may have noticed we did a SEMA video and released it midweek a little while ago. So we're gonna be doing more midweek videos. We won't be able to focus on this build for those midweek videos. It's just not enough time, but we'll probably be introducing some other projects. And a shop tour is on the top of our list for a video idea.
When do you think the project is going to be finished? Can I get another question? What is the most boring and hardest part of building cars like this? The most boring part is the repetition, and the hardest part is trying to make that repetition interesting for video. When are we going to see one of Ryan's projects? That poses another question, because right now we're working on Project Jigsaw. And if we did one of my projects, because Project Jigsaw is Tony's car, I'm helping him with it, but this is Tony's car at the end of the day. If we were going to do one of my projects, that would mean that that would be an additional video that would take place of Jigsaw for that week, and an actual series, not just one video, of course. So if we did that, would you watch another project, or do you just want to see Project Jigsaw finished first? But the other side of that question too is, currently I have an infant daughter at home, which I think many of you can relate is not the time to be buying a project car. That's usually when you're selling project cars. Now, we are a YouTube channel. This is also a business, which means that more viewership means more money coming in, which means that we can then allocate that money into more projects. So it all kind of is hand in hand. So if you wanted to see one of my projects, we're getting there and we think we're getting pretty close, but we're not quite ready to pull the trigger just yet. Which leads us into another question actually that's very relatable with Project Jigsaw. Tony?
How much did Jigsaw cost? How many hours do you have in it? Those are very difficult questions to answer because it's a personal car. We haven't been doing hour tracking like we would if we were billing it. Also, because we are videoing it, it takes longer to video a process than just to do it. So we don't really know how many hours. If I had to guess, 600 probably hours in it to this point. Cost is also difficult because with things like raw materials, we pay full price for it. And when it comes to parts, oftentimes we get them at a discounted or sometimes they are sponsored price, which means we pay much less for those parts. And again, because it's a personal car, I have not been keeping track of it because sometimes you just don't want to know.
Since a lot of the inner panels have been cut out, how will this car be safe in a crash? Since we cut out a lot of the structure in here, on a Porsche Boxster, you'd be able to see none of this. Obviously, you have the outer skin, but past the outer skin, you have like a tub around the engine and other sheet metal, which is actually really thin sheet metal. Some of it's 16 gauge, a lot of it's a lot thinner. We replaced a lot of it with 1/8 inch wall steel tubing. We have a roll bar, we have tubing bracing going throughout all of this, and we're gonna add more tubing once we get further down the line. We did all this for both a driving rigidity and for crash safety.
What's in your garage and what's your dream car? In my garage, which technically isn't because I don't own one except the shop, I have an 09 Cayenne that I use as a daily and my pickup truck, but I have a 73 914 project that we did tons of work to. I have the slant nose that we did a bunch of work to here on the channel. I have a 69 911 that's torn down to a bare shell sitting on jack stands. And I've been hoarding a bunch of other cheap cars I can get my hands on that are hopefully for some future projects.
What I have in my garage, which I also do not have a garage, I only have 2 cars right now because I'm in that stage of life where I just need to get from point A to point B. I have a 2018 Accord Sport 2-liter that I love, and my wife has a Honda Civic. In the past though, I've had some pretty fun cars. I had an RB swapped 240SX hatchback that was a drift car. I'm going to be building another drift car in the future, and that'll probably be on this channel. And then also, I had a Mini Cooper S that I really loved that was terrible to me.
As for my dream car, I couldn't find the sports car in my dream, so I built it myself. Ferdinand Porsche, Tony Miller. Actually, you're looking at it. A dream car for me isn't just about the specs of the car. For me, a dream car has to be one that you drive regularly, so it can't be perfect. It has to mean something to you, and because of my dad's engine, this has sentimental value to me, and so I will keep it forever, and I think that's what makes it my dream car.
And for my dream car, it's literally everything Tony just said minus the dad's engine thing. There is no car that you can buy in the market right now that's my dream car. They're all in my head, and they're going to be eventually on this channel, so stay tuned.
What's the plan for Jigsaw when it's done? I'm gonna drive it every day if I can.
What is the favorite thing you've learned thanks to Project Jigsaw? Well, it's working with aluminum. I don't get many opportunities to weld aluminum, and I also don't get many opportunities to shape aluminum. And aluminum is very hard to work with in the sense that everything you do happens very quickly, so it can be messed up extremely quickly. Aluminium, that's the reason. I've also learned the different ways to say aluminum or aluminium bothers you guys. Equally, both sides, so that's been fun.
And I've really enjoyed learning metal shaping. We've got all the tools here. Ryan's always working metal around here somewhere. And I really want to get my hands on that and do it. And so that's been good. I'm looking forward to getting back into it on the tail end of this project a little bit. And I'm looking forward to learning CAD design. I have always built things in my mind since I was a little kid and with my hands, but doing it on the computer is something I've never really learned, and there's just so many opportunities there to do so many cool things, so I'm really looking forward to learning that.
Mist and shadow, cloud and shade, all shall fade, all shall fade.
You guys have mentioned that you're planning on doing the motor, but what are you actually going to do to it? Because I don't build Ford V8s on the regular, actually ever, I don't know all the specific parts that we're going to use, but I want high compression, so pistons are going to get changed. I'm sure we're going to do aluminum heads, and I want high revving, so valve train. Everything's going to be addressed because we're going to take the engine all the way down, put it all the way back together, but that should give us the engine that has the sound and performance and character that we want for this car and this build.
Is the boss man still taking his daily prescription of Triactin? Actually, Tony does not need Triactin. Point of fact, they use samples of his blood to formulate it.
I hate it here.